Joining us now, NewsNation political contributor, one of our favorite New York residents, Chris Hahn. Chris, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. Who's right there?
You got a rowdy crew on your hands today, man. I wish I was there.
I'm earning my money today. They might have to pay me overtime for this show.
I'm watching this debate and this show going on there, man. You need hazard pay for what's going on there today.
Are you trying to duck the question here, Chris?
No. First of all, I've been listening to this debate. I just was very much involved with a special election here in New York. And the only issue the Republican ran on was immigration. And during that debate, the Republican Party passed on a immigration bill that they themselves negotiated. And the Republican lost by 8 points. So I am not of the mind that immigration is going to be the #1 issue in this election. It's great for the base. The Republican base gets all worked up about it. Democrats say it's important too. But at the end of the day, the margins who make up the elections do not vote on this issue, and they will not this year either, even in Athens,
What about
Georgia.
sanctuary cities, though, Chris? For example, we had Henry Cuellar, a Democrat from basically right in between where Donald Trump and Joe Biden visited today. And I asked him, does President Biden need to come out and make the statement that sanctuary cities need to end, full stop? And here was the Democrat from Texas. Listen, I'll get your reaction on the other side.
If there's any sanctuary cities, those sanctuary cities should be able to provide any information to ICE. Imagine having a situation where ICE cannot get information.
He also came out and basically said, that the president should make that statement. Does President Biden need to come out and say, you know what, we need to put an end to sanctuary cities?
Look, I don't believe in sanctuary cities. I don't think they should exist. I think law enforcement should cooperate, and when people commit crimes, they should be punished for their crimes. And if they've committed other crimes, they should be held accountable for those crimes as well, including giving their information to ICE. And if deportation is warranted, they should be deported. And whether or not the president needs to act on this or say that or make a statement, as I just told you, I do not think that this is the issue that decides the election. If the president wants to come out and make that statement, let him do it. But here's
immigration
the thing.
Or sanctuary cities you don't think decides the election?
Sanctuary I don't think immigration or sanctuary cities decide the election.
Okay.
Either.
All that
Full
thought.
stop,
Do you agree with Chris?
will not happen.
Absolutely not. He's conflating two things. He's absolutely right about sanctuary cities. I will give Chris Hahn, the aggressive progressive, a little kudos on that front. But illegal immigration will decide this election. I'm going to tell you right now, because of what happened to Laken Riley, Donald Trump will win the state of Georgia. And the question is very simple. How much more pain do Americans have to bear because of the Democrats' policies before Joe Biden does exactly what he's supposed to do?
We're not going to vote. We're not going to vote for Putin's puppet because of immigration. Not going to happen. There will be more important things to vote on. Every election since Trump's been there, there's been a caravan of violent migrants coming to America. It's been on every news channel. It's been talked about 24/7, 365 in every election. And it has not mattered, and it will not matter this year either.
So, first off, by the way, around the table, do you agree with Chris that immigration won't decide it?
Yes, I don't think immigration is going to decide it. I think that in places like Texas, where they were already going to vote Republican anyway, there's going to be that question. But for the most part, immigration is not going to be the deciding factor here. I do take issue with something both Chris said as well as the far-right gentleman over here.
His name's Ford.
Sanctuary cities, I did that on purpose.
No, I don't.
Sanctuary cities do not preclude any city that happens to have sanctuary status from reporting criminal activity, and they never have. As someone who still maintains residency and pays taxes in the city of Chicago, we've been a sanctuary city since before I was born. If someone commits a crime, whether they are an American citizen or an undocumented immigrant, there is nothing within Chicago law or any other city's law that precludes that person from being turned in and investigated. So acting as though sanctuary cities and sanctuary law protects you if you commit a crime, I think is completely a lie, and we can't perpetuate that.
What it does do, Blake, is that it's when you give the information to ICE. New York will give the information to ICE after conviction. Chicago will give it after conviction. They will not do it upon arrest. And that is the difference. And frankly,
and that's not a problem to you?
It has been. Look, it has been demagogued in this country. Immigrants commit crimes
profiling
at
is a problem to us.
Immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than the citizens here in this country. By
That's
far,
true.
by the
And then
way.
every
Both of
that
you
is
are
very
just
true.
I want to get one of the
What you
Republicans
both
in.
have just done is conflate two words. We're not talking about
Or we
immigrants.
told the
We're
truth.
talking about illegal aliens. It's a definitive legal term, and the Democrats continue to hide behind them. You know
Sanctuary
why?
city
Because
is for
illegal
undocumented
aliens vote for
immigrants.
president. Do you know that illegal aliens vote for president? You know why they vote for president?
Undocumented
No, they
immigrants
do
cannot
not.
vote
They
in
do
the
not
Congress.
vote for
Undocumented
president.
immigrants cannot
Nobody
vote.
who
I'm
is
just
not a
gonna-
citizen of this country votes for
Let's
president.
not tell lies on NewsNation or any
Yeah,
place
I'm
else.
just going to bring it back.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.